You might have lost two old men last week, but a third comes back into play as the back half of The Old Man Season 2 ups the stakes for Dan Chase, Harold Harper, and their loved ones. With Emily Chase still back in Afghanistan and Chase and Harper's best hope at getting the Taliban off her back and away from Faraz Hamzad's village lying dead on the floor of his house, while Suleiman Pavlovich is out for their heads, things are looking dire all around as we head into episode 5. The first scene we get of Emily Chase recording her voice-over farewells, she lays Faraz Hamzad to rest with her family in Afghanistan. Emily is accustomed to this routine because she was also able to say goodbye to her mother solely in writing. However, Emily's audience is the target audience rather than her real father. She claims that Afghanistan is her home and that she is committed to mending the scars caused by past generations. The first step in doing this is sending Tarek and the now orphaned Farouk, presumably to the United States, while he himself faces the awful realities that lie ahead. She warns the young child that he will experience hurt, sadness, and fear. It's her first move in ending the past cycles. The Harper's house in the Washington, D.C. region serves as the only location for the remainder of the show. More strained as Cheryl Harper works to contain a flooding basement caused by a malfunctioning water heater. She doesn't need her unkempt-looking spouse to suddenly appear and beg for assistance in providing sanctuary to two strangers, along with their Rottweilers. The fact that Chase says he doesn't want the car to be left in the driveway for too long, and that Harper gives the car a long look before locking the door gives us our first indication that Zoe, Chase, Dave, and Carol won't be the Harpers' only guests this evening. All right, fellas, what's in the trunk? There isn't much time for Zoe and Chase to talk about what happened in the previous episode, even though Zoe is still in shock at what she saw happen to Morgan Boat. However, Chase needs to alert Emily about Pavlovich's mercenaries, and he is currently too preoccupied to act as a therapist. Though he acknowledges that they're still lacking a crucial component, he notes that this resentment goes beyond Pavlovich making money off mineral rights, given his willingness to assassinate Boat on American territory. In the meantime, the Harper marriage is beginning to fall apart down in the basement. When Harold finds out that Cheryl moved their grandson Henry to live with his other grandparents in order to protect him, he is upset. Naturally, she is tired of pretending to be the obedient FBI wife who is unable to inquire about anything, not even about the two strangers who are staying at her house. She is only permitted to know that Angela is a fiction, and that the other scruffy-looking man is Angela's father. Yes, no big deal. Chase eventually establishes a phone conversation with Emily. She is leaving the area via a network of tunnels beneath the surface because, as the family feared, the Taliban has made a comeback. Dan Chase is rarely shown in full panic mode, but on this occasion he does so because he is aware of the danger his daughter is in and because he is intimately familiar with those tunnels. It's a wonderfully suspenseful moment made even more terrifying by Emily's soothing narration as Chase, Zoe, Cheryl, and Harper helplessly stand around the phone in an illuminated living room while the rain pours down outside. Emily makes the most of her last minutes to bid her American dads farewell. Before telling Harold that she doesn't hold him responsible for what he did, she apologizes to the Harpers for making them grieve for yet another kid, as in killing Faraz Hamzad. Cheryl is a poor, confused person. After that, Emily assures Chase that her decision to stay with her Akin family will not affect her love for him and urges him to accept it. However, because the Taliban have broken into the hiding location, there is no time for mourning. Emily and her family members can be heard screaming, and then there are gunshots and her phone goes dead. Soon later, Chase lashes out at the Harper's water heater, criticizing himself in front of Zoe for not making a greater effort to get Emily home. Right now, he is understandably a ball of raw emotion, so the only thing he can do is cry tragically and unleash decades worth of pain while collapsing into Zoe's arms. Now that his mind is clear, Chase goes back into monster mode because, as he tells Zoe, Emily's phone call left a crucial clue. Chase and Harper, using their trained ears, heard that the men who ambushed Emily were speaking Russian, indicating that their daughter was killed by Pavlovich's mercenaries rather than the Taliban. That implies that answers are needed, and they might be waiting for you in Harper's driveway. Now we understand why the automobile caused them so much anxiety. It turns out that last week's lone surviving Russian assassin was jammed into the trunk by Chase and Harper. In order for Chase to torture unnamed Russian mercenary without Cheryl discovering, they must now relocate him into the basement. Remember, Spy 101 stuff. Harper is the expert, but he doesn't state a question, unnamed Russian mercenary. He is aware that Yoram was most likely hired muscle and is unaware of anything. He also understands that Chase has to vent his resentment against someone. I'm delighted that URM's cry for compassion on the sole sign of suffering, while Chase tenderly caresses Harper's home items. Cheryl confides to Zoe over tea that she has lived most of her life well in the dark. She is aware that Zoe is there to divert her attention from whatever Chase and Harper are up to, so she's not a fool. She also expresses her mounting dissatisfaction at having consented to go uninformed about her husband's employment for such a long time. Thus, by repeating the old man's log lines from the previous 2 episodes, Zoe helps Cheryl out. Yes, Cheryl is entitled to the truth. She only knew Morgan Boat as a friend of Harold's. Zoe is the only one who is prepared to provide it. However, I think Zoe is making a rookie error in this situation. As Zoe reveals a majority of Chase and Harper's secrets, Harper is upstairs, gradually coming apart. We discover that the several lies Harper created over the years to shield his family from harm were more detrimental than beneficial through a hazy conversation he had with the spirit of his dead son. There's a truth simmering beneath the surface that I don't yet know about. Harper admits his regret for not saying goodbye to Chip, Emily, and Henry at this painful time. He also had an epiphany regarding the significance of closing remarks. Then, in a panic, Harper asks Zoe if Boat told her anything before he was killed. She confirms that he had his phone in his hand and might have been sending anything. Although Boat appeared to be attempting to make a phone call, Harper's opinion that the old man was transmitting important information to a reliable person seems to be supported by his actions. It was the ideal time for Chase to show up with some news of his own. Although Viram was unable to verify that Pavlovich had employed him, he was able to identify his other 2 targets, Henry and Marcia Dixon. How come Pavlovich is following Chase and Zoe? Who knows? Why don't they take a little plane ride to London to question Nana Kruger? They might as well, since there are only 3 episodes left. Chase has to smash some Russian skulls, and Zoe can't wait to go back into spy mode. As the episode comes to an end, my heart goes out to Cheryl Harper. Her husband is leaving her in a hotel and then mysteriously disappearing from her life again. This time, however, is different since Harper is aware that his marriage is in jeopardy, and I like that he is owning up to his past transgressions. He seems to be trying to make amends with Cheryl, and I believe him when he says he doesn't want to lose her. But given Zoe's blabbering session and the fact that her husband assigned Chase and Zoe to drive her to the hotel, I wouldn't blame Cheryl if she took advantage of this to leave. Harper does, in fact, have a significant domestic task on his list of things to complete. Harper descends down the still-flooded basement in the episode's final scene, which fits with the gloomy tone of the show. However, it is up to us to imagine the horrifying chore of getting rid of Viram's body. Our only hint is the saw that is in Harper's hand.